To give a person one's opinion and correct his faults is an important thing. It is compassionate and comes first in matters of service. But the way of doing this is extremely difficult. To discover the good and bad points of a person is an easy thing. And to give an opinion concerning them is easy also. For the most part, people think that they are being kind by saying the things that others find distasteful or difficult to say. But if it is not received well, they think that there is nothing more to be done. This is completely worthless. It is the same as bringing shame to a person by slandering him. It is nothing more than getting it off of one's chest. As a martial artist, I'm very fortunate to be a part of the family that I am a part of. The martial artists that I come from are very open to the idea of thinking outside of their style, thinking outside of their box. Today I sit down with Morris, and he teaches Systema out of the school that I started in. I am extremely fortunate to have the different perspectives brought to me. And I am extremely grateful for that. This conversation with Morris has led me down a rabbit hole for the past, I don't know, we sat down a month ago, maybe. So for the past month of studying yielding, the way that I've been doing it for 32 years and why it has been wrong for 32 years, as well as how I can fix it. So I have been workshopping the fix. I am telling you this because I hope that as a martial artist, you are not stagnant. As a person, you are not stagnant. If something has been just getting by, something you have been doing has been okay, but not getting you closer to a goal, reevaluate it and try a different way. It's okay to try a different way. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation with Morris as much as I did, and I hope that I can work out my work schedule in a way that I can go take some of Morris's classes. Everybody, enjoy and keep kicking.
Keep kicking, never quitting. Focus sharp like a blade that's hitting. From white belt dreams to the master flow, Paul Coffey's got the mic, now the stories grow. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. All Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking, keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Keep Kicking, the martial arts podcast, where I have martial conversations with my martial arts friends. And today I am joined by Morris. Morris, you want to tell the people about yourself?
Well, my name is Morris Shaw. I am the instructor at Systema Louisville, Louisville Systema. And I've done various martial arts for many years, but I've been doing Systema now for, I have to think about it, for over 10 years. And that's really the only thing that I do now. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, at some point, in our conversation, my history may come in, or, via explanation. But
That's where it comes in, is first.
Yeah.
We go off the bat. Tell me how you got started in martial arts.
That's an excellent question. It was something that as a kid I was, interested in. Now you have to remember that I'm pretty old, so there wasn't really a lot of martial arts when I was a kid here in Louisville. So it wasn't really until I got to be, more of, like college age and a little bit later. I guess to say that my first serious martial art experience was when I was living in New York City, and I was doing Goju-Ryu karate, which I like quite a bit. But after I moved back from New York, there was no Goju-Ryu, so I kind of, like, my history in martial arts is kind of like start, stop, start, stop, start, stop.
Okay.
And so, there wasn't really anything that to do. I kind of dabbled for a little while in Kenpo. And then I discovered Aikido, Japanese martial art, which I actually did for probably around 20 years until I found Systema. Now, a lot of people, I think it's a kind of personal ability, or in my case, maybe lack of ability, to do multiple martial arts. I kind of have to focus on one thing. And although I really liked Aikido, and I was teaching Aikido, but I found that even though there are some, and with all martial arts, there are similarities that you can find. And there were some similarities with Systema and Aikido, but there were enough differences that it was kind of short-circuiting me, and I had to make the choice, which one do I want, which way do I want to go. And so I chose Systema because it most fit into my mindset and where I was, wanting to head with the martial art.
Elaborate on the mindset.
Well, I guess, to some degree you have to, maybe talk about, I guess maybe one of the first questions is, like, okay, what is Systema? So let me go there a little bit. So Systema is a Russian martial art, and and Systema stands for the system, and so it evolved over many years, like over the centuries, Russia has a very kind of porous border, so you have people attacking from different directions, and so they actually took a lot of influences from everybody that fought them and kind of, synthesized them into their own kind of martial style.
Okay.
Also, I think there was a lot during maybe the Soviet era where the Soviets, it's interesting how it works. They kind of banned martial arts study for the common people, but they used it for the military. And they started incorporating a lot of psychology. So one of the things that I really like about Systema is, in kind of a nutshell, Systema emphasizes, acting spontaneously and moving naturally. So, Systema teaches you to be kind of, versatile, unpredictable. And I think a quote from my teacher, Vladimir Vasiliev, he says that Systema teaches your body how to think, not your mind.
Okay.
And so that's, one of the things, you're kind of creating, how would I say it? You're kind of creating your own movement, your own way of doing things. You're not relying on techniques. You do things in Systema based on principles. There are, and they're basically 4 principles: posture, breathing, relaxation, and movement. And everything we do kind of builds up around there. And the Systema viewpoint is that fixed stances, poses, that you find in most martial arts actually inhibit the principle of readiness because they're an indication of tension. So what we want to do is you can't remove tension, because without tension you collapse to the ground. But what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to be free in your movements. So what do I mean by that? These are kind of, concepts that, in some ways they're kind of difficult to explain. But if you think about
sure.
tension in the extreme, tension kind of brings you in, so it collapses you. But what you really want is you want to be free, you want to be open. So you can even see this in something like making a fist. If you make a fist, in the traditional way a lot of people do it is you kind of draw the fist in. Again, you create tension all through here.
Yeah.
But from the way Systema does it is like I'm reaching to make the fist.
Oh.
So I'm extending, I'm not contracting. And so that's the other thing that you find. Like a lot of people will watch Systema videos and they'll go, oh, that's BS. Because somebody will stand there and, it'll be like, and somebody will go, ooh. But I've been hit by some of those people, and I can tell you it's it's for real. So it's this kind of relaxed power. Because when you think about it, I mean, if you take it again to an extreme, if you stand up and you make everything tense, and now you try to walk, good luck. You're gonna
Right.
So the whole idea in Systema is to be fluid, to be free. You want to, not let tension hinder your ability to do things. And again, from our perspective in Systema, there's nothing wrong with, there's a lot of great things in all martial arts. And there's a lot of similarities and, principles that, apply across the board. But, for me, the other thing about Systema is what I would call a sustainable martial art. So, I mean, think about it. Like when I did Goju-Ryu karate back when I was, oh gosh, I'd have to think about it. But, we're talking 40, 50 years ago.
Okay.
I could like stand against the wall and I could bring my foot up and touch the wall over the top of my head. Guess
Right,
what?
right, right.
Can't do that anymore. And so, what I mean by sustainable is that, there are things that you cannot do anymore when you're older, like I am, that you could do when you were younger. So that doesn't invalidate your martial art, but you have to change what you're doing. Because again, it's like pick your martial art, like Keep Kicking is the name of the podcast. Like
Right.
how many times, and this is not to denigrate anybody, but this is reality. The master isn't going to show you the high kicks. He's going to have a
Right.
senior student show you. Why? I will say that he can't do the high kicks anymore. That
Right.
doesn't mean he's not an effective martial artist, because what I have observed is that it's interesting. The masters in different martial arts tend to look more like each other.
Yes.
Their movements become more economical. Because those extremes that you may have used, in your training days, you just can't do them anymore. So the point in Systema is that Systema is, as my friend who's a very good instructor down in Asheville, North Carolina, Bill Paravano says, Systema is a health practice disguised as a martial art. So
Ooh,
a lot
I like
of the
that.
things that we do are designed to keep you moving and allow you to still practice your martial art, because sooner or later everybody gets old. That's just the reality. So so there's part of the goal, and that's one of the things that appeals to me, because I'm at the point now where I'm collecting Social Security, so I'm like that old. So you want to.
First of all, you don't look that old. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.
martial arts is a fountain of youth, and it kind of ages us very well. I have noticed,
It
which
does. Yeah.
I myself am older than I present. I'm 42. People don't think that I'm nearly that old, but anyway, it's interesting to me about what you're saying, because in my current study and in my current journey, I am teaching a lot. I'm teaching at community centers, and I'm teaching at rehabs. And the idea is I'm teaching disenfranchised individuals
Hmm.
who need help fighting demons or whatever. But I also am teaching underserved groups
Sure.
to do not martial arts, but just self defense. And I have learned that the reason a lot of people don't do well in self-defense is they're not violent people. So like martial arts, as a martial arts practitioner, you have to be a little bit sadistic and a little bit masochistic in order to be successful. And the other people that just are not that way because they don't want to hurt another human, they have to find some other way. And so I'm kind of teaching them, soft techniques, some Tai Chi, and then how that Tai Chi relates to breaking postures, breaking poses, and just sort of self-preservation and getting out of the situation. And I
Right.
think what's interesting about that is that what you're saying on Systema is almost along the same lines. I'm sure Systema is uh, aggressive or violent or combative, but
It depends on how you look at it. You could say yes, but I think that to kind of expound on what you're saying, there is this idea or fear some people don't want to hurt somebody else. And, you know, you have to get to the point where, you know, you can, here's how I explain it. And this is where maybe Systema differs in some ways from other martial arts. I think traditionally, and I may be misspeaking, but traditionally you have this idea that striking, you know, you're training people in a lot of martial arts to strike as hard as possible to cause damage. You know,
Right.
break boards, you know, all that stuff. But
Right.
in Systema, strikes aren't designed to do that. They can do that, but the real goal is to be more strategic in the sense of I am, and this sounds like a little bit odd. Let me backtrack just a slight bit. So one of the things that we do in class is we do strike each other. You know, we don't. Now, the idea behind striking in Systema class is I'm striking you to help you discover where you're holding tension. So I'm not striking to damage you. I'm striking to help you find where your tension is so you can remove that tension from your body. It's the thing that, like, you know, holds you back in some respects. Also, you want to practice striking because you need to see how the body reacts. Because if you are in a real conflict, you're going to get hit. And so if all of a sudden you get hit and you freeze, that does not benefit you. You know, it's like what's the Tyson quote? Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
That's right.
So you know, when you strike somebody in Systema in class, you're actually trying to help heal them. On the street, the idea would be, I'm going to strike to break your structure, or literally remove your will to fight. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people that can take a punch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you'll have to trust me on this. If you get hit by somebody who's a very high level Systema practitioner, you know, like Vladimir Vasiliev or some of the senior instructors, it will remove your will to fight because you don't want to be hit like that again. So in other words, you know, traditionally I hit somebody and it amps them up. You hit them in a way that the strike goes beyond the surface into like the organs, and you get hit in a place and in a way that you've never been hit like that before, and you don't want any more of it. So it removes your will to fight. Now, in extreme cases, you know, it's like you're removing somebody's tension if you knock them out, you know.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that I can do that because I'm not on that level, but that's the goal. The goal is the strike isn't necessarily to damage the person; it's to remove their tension. Now, removing their tension may involve that.
Removing
but that's
somebody's
the kind of goal.
will to fight. Removing somebody's will to fight is my new favorite quote from this podcast. I love that.
And that speaks to the Systema approach, where I say the psychology comes in.
Yes.
For example, and again, you know, not to denigrate any other martial art, but the kind of idea is one thing about stances. I don't know if you can see in the camera. We've got a narrow field of view, but okay, so, I put my hands up in a stance, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the stance? The stance is stay back.
Right, right, right.
The stance is fear. It doesn't mean that you're mentally afraid, but
Right, right.
the idea behind the stance is fear. It's like stay back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the unfortunate reality now, people who do things like jujitsu or judo understand this. Your martial art to some degree can't be effective if you're not close enough to hit somebody.
For sure.
And if you're close enough to hit somebody, you're also close enough to be hit.
Yes.
So that's another reason why we practice, striking each other, because again, now there are strategic things you can do, places you can move where you can hit people and they can't hit you. And another thing about Systema striking is that Systema has strikes from all kinds of weird, what would normally be considered improbable angles. And they can be just as effective. So, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
We were talking about the psychology.
Oh yeah. So so the psychology in Systema is that I want to be relaxed. I'm not going to put up a stance, because here's the other thing. I mean, think about it. As soon as I do this, there's a reaction in the other person. They get tense. So I'm actually giving them tension, or I'm feeding into their aggression by creating a stance. If I just stand there with my hands like this, that's, neutral. In gun work, for example, which is also part of Systema, you have this kind of idea, normally, like you see it all the time, like people come in, like they've got their arms locked out. Well, Systema, it's like this kind of relaxed thing where, your hands like that, but you can change it anytime you want. So I don't create tension in you by having this stance, whatever the stance might be.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stand here like this, but my hands are where they need to be if I need to strike you, or if I need to do something. But I'm not going to create a stance. And also by being relaxed, which again, is kind of counterintuitive. Again, if you think of an extreme stance, like something like a horse stance, I'm not suggesting that people that are good can't move from there, but to move from that stance requires some shifting, requires, but when you have a more normal posture, you're able just to move. And that's our goal, is just to be able to move, to be relaxed, to be fluid, to be able to do the work. And here's the other thing that I would say about Systema when you think about, because when I say there are no techniques, we don't have techniques. We work on movement. You think about like just driving a car. You could say that there are techniques. It's like, I get to a stop sign, I put on the brake, I put on my turn signal, I turn.
Right.
But when you drive, you don't think about that. You just do it.
Right.
You're coming to a
Some
stop sign.
people don't think about that turn signal at all.
That's true. But my point being is, you just do the work. You don't think about the pattern or the technique. You just respond. Oh, somebody pulled in front of me, you put on your brakes. So you don't have to do a little mental check about what you have to do.
Right.
So Systema is about just doing the work. It's about being fluid, being reactive, not necessarily just reactive. There are situations where you would be proactive. But the idea is that, you are not putting yourself into a place where there's a predetermined response. Somebody throws a strike at the top of your head, you block like this. Maybe you do, but maybe you do something else. It depends, because even if it's the same attack, excuse me, it's allergy time.
It's all good.
Even if you do the same attack, or someone does the same attack, it's different every single time. So you want to respond to that moment, not with a preconceived response, but you want to respond to what's actually happening at the time. Now, one of the other knocks that sometimes people have on Systema, if they watch videos, we do a lot of slow training. And there's that old military quote, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. If you've ever heard that. So you train slowly because what you're actually trying to do is you're trying to repattern your nervous system. Now, if you think about it for a second, if somebody comes up and grabs you, the natural response of people is to get tense.
For sure.
Well, that's not the response you want. You want to be able just to move and let it go, and to like throw them off, strike them, or whatever. But if you get tense and then you relax, or try to relax, maybe you don't even get to relax. You're at a disadvantage. So you want to be able to be fluid. You want to be able to respond to the moment. I'm trying to think of a better way to say it.
In my self-defense trainings, I'm teaching the people that are, we kind of go, look, if you're nonviolent, this is what you have to do. If you have a tendency toward any sort of violence, I can show you strikes and techniques that add to this, but it's not necessary. We call that in my classes martial improv, because it's just it's the improv of the movement. And I'm bringing that up because it seems like do you all have specific drills or something that you all do to train that muscle, to train that the improv or
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of things that we do. There are, there's also a very big emphasis in Systema on, as I may have mentioned, the four pillars of Systema: posture, breathing. Systema really focuses a lot on breathing. I mean, again, if you think about in this extreme thing, things that are alive are breathing, things that are dead don't breathe, right?
Right,
What tends to happen in moments of conflict is people hold their breath. In fact, you can catch people all the time. Everybody does it. You reach into a cabinet to get a cup, you're holding your breath. In Systema, the goal is to, unless there are specific drills where we want to do breath holds, but other than those drills, you always want to be breathing. And we even do, especially in moments of real tension, like if you get hit really hard, or you do something called burst breathing, where you're just breathing up in this upper part of your chest, so that you're just trying to make sure that you breathe rather than not breathe. Because again, when you hold your breath, you start to create tension, or you collapse, you lose your posture. So breathing is extremely important. And that's also something that is a benefit to people in situations of conflict, because again, fight or flight, if you're frozen and you're unable to move, you're probably not breathing. So we really emphasize that breathing in all kinds of movement, whether it's, standing on the ground, but to your question, so drills, we do a lot of, like a lot of the warm up will be breathing drills, some basic kind of movements, not so much stretching in the traditional sense, but we'll do things like push-ups, sit-ups, squats, but the approach is different. It's not an exercise for building muscle. It's an exercise to actually, relax you and, strengthen your tendons.
Okay.
So, but then in drills, to train that, shall we say, reflex, to not tense up, to not be afraid to, and that's another reason for going slow, because I guarantee you, as soon as you start speeding up, people start, going like this instead of moving fluidly. So, we'll do things like multiple, that's another thing about Systema. It's one of the, not every martial art trains you against multiple opponents. That's one thing that we like to do a lot, because that's a real possibility. If you're in a conflict, maybe it's going to be one-on-one, but pretty good odds that there might be somebody else involved. So you want to be able to have an awareness. And that's another thing about tension. When you start to get tense, your focus goes like this.
Yeah.
You have to be able to be aware of everything around you. And so, that's another aspect, of Systema, that, training that to keep your awareness open. So we'll even we'll do a lot of, like, one of my favorite types of drills is I like to do blindfolded drills, or, like close your eyes. So they're not necessarily heavy duty, but it's like it might be being pushed or being struck, or even moving on the ground with your eyes closed, because you can't, you can actually, believe it or not, you can kind of feel the energy coming towards you. But obviously you can't see what somebody's going to do. So your reaction, you don't want to be touched and go like that. You want to be able to just move. You want to be able to move. And I also only want to move what needs to be moved. So, like if you push me here and I go like this, now I'm bound up here. And my face is open for a strike, right? But if you push me here and I just move what needs to be moved, you just move my fist back into your,
Like
I just
that?
move what
I
needs
like
to
that.
be moved. So wherever you push me, I just move what needs to be moved. I don't. Now, if I have to take a step, obviously I take a step. It's not like we don't do that. But it's just a kind of different approach, I think, compared to a lot of martial arts. So, like another thing I would say is that, and I think particularly back in my days in karate or aikido, you think of a lot of martial arts, you think about this idea of being grounded, like, from your hara, from your center, like sinking into the ground. Systema, we like to have this idea of moving with lightness. So, you have a connection to the ground, that's important, but you don't necessarily want to sink into the ground. So the idea would be, think about this. If I stand in a kind of stance, and I sink, my muscles are doing the work.
Oh,
Think
yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm standing on my structure, my muscles aren't, there's just enough tension to hold me up. So the idea is that I want to move with lightness so that like if I walk, sometimes we'll spend a few minutes in class just walking, because when I walk, I just want to feel my feet on the ground. I don't want to feel tension in my muscles. And that allows me also to move fluidly, because I'm not having to shift because of, say, tension in the muscle or grounding, putting weight down. So, there's a lot of, as I say, counterintuitive things maybe in Systema to other martial arts. But what I would say is that I think, of course, Systema is the only thing I do now, but I think that for other martial artists that might be having some interest, I think that Systema can be a good supplement to what you already do, because just some of the breathing things, the whole concept of relaxation, and the way that we approach things like striking, I think are different than other martial arts, and I think that obviously I think they're very effective.
Right. So, how has your other martial arts, your martial past, helped with your Systema practice?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think it has, because
Because it has to bleed over. Like, even if
yeah,
you're only doing Systema, some
yeah,
of that Goju is still there. Like, it's
yeah,
just the nature of, yeah.
exactly, and that's the other thing. It's like anything that you already know. It's not that you forget about it or you lose it. That's part of your toolbox. That's what you have inherently. So again, if you do something that would be a technique in XYZ martial art, that's okay, but it needs to have evolved out of the moment, as opposed to this kind of pre-planned thing. Like again, not to denigrate Aikido, but one of the things that pushed me over into Systema, like when I was weighing the scales, was
Right,
there's
right.
a concept in Aikido. It's called Takamusu Aiki, which there's a lot of ways you could translate it, but essentially it means enlightened Aiki, enlightened Aikido. What that means is it's Aikido that comes out of the moment.
Okay.
Now, that sort of sounds like what Systema is. But
Right.
here's the problem. In order to get to Takamusu Aiki, you've got to learn all these techniques, and you've got to build this structure to get there. Whereas in Systema, you just kind of start. I remember, I think it was maybe the first or one of the first Systema classes I went to. And that's another reason, like, so how did I get there? I was talking to my friend who was a pretty high level Aikido instructor, and, we were just talking, and I said, our strikes in Aikido suck. And he said, oh, you want to do something about striking? He said, hey, I got something for you. And so he mentioned Systema, and there was a Systema instructor, my friend Bill Piravano, who has now moved to Asheville, but he was the instructor in Louisville. And so, I started doing Systema, because I felt like, our strikes were ineffective. But I digress. So I went to maybe the first, second class. And of course, if you have any knowledge of Aikido, or even if you don't, it's safe to say, for example, one of the things that, we do a fair amount of is like joint locks.
Yep.
So we're doing escape from holds in Systema class this particular day, and so I'm going, ha, yeah, I got this. So I try to
Right.
do a joint lock on a guy, and at this point, I've been doing Aikido for like 20 years, and I'm gonna say I'm not the greatest, but I'm certainly pretty good.
Right.
And I'm working with a guy who's only been doing Systema for about 10 years, and I cannot get a hold on him. He just like, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, he's gone. And again, speaking to, those building blocks in Aikido, escapes from holds are advanced techniques. In
Right.
Systema,
Right.
day one, here's how you get out of this. Now, what do you think is more practical and better? I think
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think learning how to get out of the hold is much, better and more important that you learn it now rather than later. And in fact, like, I'm not going to blame Aikido. You got to ultimately blame yourself. But, so I've got shoulders, I've got like wrist things from, either resisting or trying to resist the application of techniques. Whereas, in Systema, like the idea is sustainability. So,
Right.
What tends to happen is, so somebody puts like a joint lock on you, the
Yeah.
tension moves up, and so now you've locked yourself. I'm locking myself in this position, because of the pain. But all I have to do is like, even if you've got a grip here, I can
Yeah.
move my elbow if I
Yeah.
if I don't let tension infest me. I can move my arm. There's a lot of things that I can do, or I can move this hand. So that's what I mean. Like in Systema, you don't let that tension infest your body. No matter what you do, if you grab me with if you grab my arm with two hands, well, okay, I can probably still move my elbow, but even if I can't, I can move the rest of my body. And so that's
Right.
the thing. We also do things in class where we will work with tension and relaxation. So we'll do like I mentioned, breathing exercises. We'll breathe and we'll like tense up just an arm, and maybe we'll even move with that one arm tensed up, but trying to keep everything else loose. Because again, somebody grabs you, you can't move that arm, but you can move everything else. If you don't let the tension infest you, because that's
Right.
what tends to happen. Somebody grabs you, you want to fight back. I don't need to fight back. I need to free myself. It's about my being free. That's what my teacher Vladimir Vasiliev will say. Like people will say, "Oh, you move so well. You're so flexible," and he'll say, "I'm not flexible. I'm free." What he means by that is that he has freedom in his body. So it's like you can grab his arm. It doesn't matter. He can move. He can get out of it. So there's this idea about it's not responding to conflict with more force, although it could be, but it's not this direct. Somebody grabs you, you grab back, and now you're struggling. No, somebody grabs you, you relax in a way that you can throw them, strike them, or whatever. But you don't feed into, you don't play their game, if that makes sense. Because if
Absolutely.
you grab me with force and I respond back with force, I'm playing your game. I don't want to play your game. I'm going to move with freedom, and I'm going to respond to the circumstance in the way that works for me, not the way that works for you, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I actually, you're in Louisville, and I don't know how I don't know all the people that you know, but there's probably some crossover. Jesse Stanley is a good friend and martial brother of mine, and he has studied some Systema. And whenever he pulls that out when we're playing, it does give me challenge and give me pause. So there's that. And I do also believe, did you recently do a seminar at St. Matthew's Martial Arts with Joan?
Yeah, we had actually we had a instructor from Oregon come in who
Okay.
is very good. He is a guy that's done a lot of martial arts over the years, but he's now doing Systema, I think,
Hmm.
pretty exclusively. And he was also like I think he was on SWAT for many years, so he's got a lot of martial background. And we hope to have a senior instructor, one of the senior instructors from up in Canada, come down sometime, maybe even in the next few months. But
That's cool.
again, it's like the other thing I would say, like speaking about myself, is I make no claims. Certainly, I'm the farthest thing away from being a Systema master. But
Hmm. Hmm.
the way that I would explain it, if anybody, with a lot of martial experience were to come to class, they may very well, in some respects, be much better martial artists than me. But I sort of view myself like as a coach. It's like pick your coach. We'll just pick Rick Pitino because he's
Right, right,
he
right.
was a coach at Louisville and at Kentucky, and now he's at St. John's. But I'm pretty sure that he has players that can outplay him.
Oh, for
That,
sure. Yes.
but his ability to coach them, to bring them to a place where they can get improvement. And that's sort of what I see my role as, because I'm not going to impress you with my mastery, but I think I know enough to be dangerous, for lack of a better term, and not
Right.
necessarily in the physical sense, but
Hmm.
to lead you to the benefits that Systema can bring.
Absolutely. Dangerous in the mental sense is also a bad danger to have.
Yeah, because
Well, I missed
a
the.
lot. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I missed the last. I'm also in Louisville. St. Matthew's Martial Arts is my like home school, and that's Joan
Oh,
has been
really?
my master for 32 years. I also
Wow.
say I'm
Well,
not
you
a
need to come
master.
by.
I do need to come by. I'm not a master. I have just been doing it for 32 years. I've just been starting for 32 years, and I'm starting again today. Rinse and repeat. I don't.
That is the best thing. It's like one of the things that about Systema, which I think is good, is we don't really have any competitions. So Systema is I guess what if you had to throw a term on it, it's what would be called a reality-based martial art, in the sense that no knocking on anything, but there are no tournaments. There's no trophies that you're going to get. We don't have any belts, or ranks. The closest thing to a rank is if somebody's really good and been around for a long time, they're considered a senior instructor.
Mhm.
You know, but you, I think, there's a lot of benefit from the training, and if you ever want to come by, you're welcome to stop by.
Appreciate it.
And by all means, come by and check it out, because that's the thing about anything. It's like you have people that I'll tell you a real quick story. There's a guy I went to a Systema seminar in Philadelphia with Vladimir. Vladimir is in Toronto, Canada, and I go up there quite a bit. In fact, I'm going up in September for about a week to train. I try to get up there as often as I can. But so I met a guy who was now living in Austin, Texas, who originally was from Israel. And, we were talking, And he was asking me all these questions about training, because he was new to Systema, but he'd done a lot of martial arts training.
Hmm.
And the interesting thing was, one of the things that he used to do when he lived in Israel, he was a reporter, and what he would do would be he would go to dojos and he would look for the bullshido people and he would expose them. So,
Okay.
this person is full of it, and, he would expose them and write an article about it. And so one of his friends said, "Hey, I'm going to go to this Systema class." And he went, "Oh, this stuff, it's BS. You're just wasting your time and money." And his friend went, "Well, why don't you come with me?" And so he goes to the class, and, like, I don't know how long of the, in the class it was going. He was still kind of going, yeah. And then there was a point where they started doing striking. And the instructor, hit him. And it was like, oh, I get it. All of
Right.
a sudden it was like,
Yeah.
this isn't what I thought it was. And I can't believe that he just hit me like that. And it looked like nothing.
Right.
So, now he's a convert, and, he's living in the States and, going to seminars and stuff like that. So my point being is that, with anything, it's like, yeah, you can look at something and have an opinion, and it's not necessarily, to some degree, an uninformed opinion, because,
Right.
people have their own skill levels. But
Hmm.
until you actually try it, you just don't know,
Right. Open
about it.
mind, open heart.
Because, like I say, you can watch, and other things, like the founder of, our group, Michael Rabko, is now passed away. But, when you see videos of him, he is not your typical looking martial artist. He is definitely, to be charitable, he's overweight. So you
Okay.
go, this guy, but yeah, this guy. So, again, it's a lot of, it kind of fights maybe your preconceived notions. A lot of people have
Well,
preconceptions about
for
stuff.
me, I don't know about anybody else watching this, but preconceived notion of Systema, even having worked out with people that have done Systema, I did not realize that there was that much yielding, for lack of a better word. My assumption was everybody that I had worked out with that had done Systema, they're also kung fu practitioners. And so they were
Hmm.
taking kung fu application of yielding and applying it to what they had learned in Systema. That was my preconceived notion. I did not realize how yielding based the art is. So that's a
Yeah,
interesting takeaway for me.
yeah, I think, yeah, you could say that. I don't think that that's necessarily untrue. I'm
Hmm.
not sure yielding is exactly the right word, but I think that's as good as any, because
Hmm.
what you don't want to do, I mean, here's the classic thing, like, think about,
Hmm.
again, resistance. Like, I'm going to be strong, I'm going
Right,
to fight
right.
you.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, okay, I'm going to be strong, and, you strike me, I'm going to be strong. Well,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
this is a knife, being strong is not going to help you, you know?
right, right,
So
right.
if it's a knife, you want to be able to move. Preferably,
Hmm.
you don't want to be stabbed. But, a lot of times the
Right.
real danger with something like a knife is, if somebody shows the knife, they are probably showing you the knife for a reason, like, give me your money. It's a
Right.
threat. But
Yeah. In an
the
attempt to
person you
not
have
use
to,
the knife most of the time.
right, the person you have to watch out for is the person that doesn't show you the knife and then stabs you.
Hmm.
Those are the
Right.
people that are really dangerous. The people that show you they're going to do
Hmm.
something, not to say that they're not capable, but the people that don't show you, that are going to just boom, those are the people you have to
Absolutely.
watch out for. And that's another reason why you want to have situational awareness, which is one of the things that I think is, training that we try to focus on. Again, like keeping this open as opposed to like focusing in and not being able to see what's going on around you. So, yeah, so like I say, it's like this idea of being strong to resist, it's like it's not going to work if it's a knife. I've got to, if I can't actually evade that moment of contact, as soon as the contact happens, I've got to be able to try to redirect or move my body in a way that will give me the least negative effect.
Right, right.
And
Well,
so,
yeah, so yielding is that's just the kung fu term or, the
yeah,
generic martial arts term. But, what you all are doing is definitely not meeting force with force in a,
in a
Shotokan karate
traditional
capacity.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, in a
yeah, yeah.
traditional sense.
Yeah.
One of the things that Vladimir talks about is like when you're working with strikes in class, every time you hit me, it should actually give me energy. So in other words, I don't,
Mm.
take it, I kind of like channel it through me and I take that energy and I give it back to you. I might give it back to you with the same amount of force. I might give it back to you with more. It just depends.
Right, right.
But that's the kind of idea. It's like this like kind of wave. The energy comes in, the energy comes back. So the other thing is that and it's one of the things that I'm working on in my own practice is that, and I wonder how much of this is again like, for lack of a better term, a negative holdover from Aikido or from Goju, is that there's this idea that you do something, you stop, you do something, you stop. So it's like in Systema, it's like always moving. It's like I always want to be moving. I don't want to like,
Okay.
again, it's like this idea of if you're alive, you're moving, you're breathing. If you're dead, you're not moving and you're not breathing. So I always want to be moving. Even if I'm standing still, there has to be this idea of movement or the ability to move, rather than this, step by step, click, click, click. Another thing that you'll see in Systema is that, again, the methodology, for lack of a better term, of striking. Traditionally, you think of like if you go back to, your basic karate, you chamber your strike and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
strike. Well, or, you bring up your fists, that's telegraphing the what you're going to do. In Systema, I don't want to telegraph. In fact, the two things that I really want to do as a practitioner is I want to remove tension or fear, and I want to be invisible. Now, what I mean by being invisible is it's not literally being invisible,
Right, right.
but again, if I do this, you know what's happening, right? You know what my intention is. If I'm like this or like this, you maybe don't see that strike,
Yeah.
until you get hit.
Yes. Right.
And at the same thing, like if you say throw a strike, I'm not going to block and then strike because that's, visible. I'm just going to strike. I'm going to maneuver so I don't get hit. And I'm going to maybe not just hit you once. So I'm not going to like hit you. I'm going to hit you.
Okay.
Yeah. So
To keep
I
moving.
don't want you to see it. So, and that's also a practical thing. Like if say somebody's belligerent in a bar, you know, do you want to like hit him? Well, you may have to, but if
Right.
his friends see you hit him,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like you hit him and nobody sees it and he collapses to the ground, I don't know what happened.
Right.
You know, what happened to
Right.
this guy? You
I
know,
love it.
so the idea is to work on again removing tension, being free, and being invisible in your movements, so that what you're doing does not attract attention to itself. You know, and that's both practical and tactical.
Yeah, absolutely. So, a couple of questions that I ask everybody because I like to get different people's perspectives. The first one is, what do you think is the biggest thing that most martial arts practitioners neglect in their practice?
That's a great question. It's difficult for me to to say, you know, because again, you know, it is an assumption on my part. But what I
Oh,
would
yeah.
say is, you know, I would say two things. I would say there's a tendency to rely on, again, like on tension, because again, even
Hmm.
if you do something like you throw a strike, you know, you
Yeah,
end up
yeah.
in a place of tension. You
Yeah.
know, you throw a strike, you end up in a place of tension. And the other thing is, you know, that maybe to some degree, that not having as much situational awareness. Because again, I think, you know, there tends to be this narrow focus. Again, you know, like if you're doing something like a tournament thing or a competition thing, you know, you're fighting against one person, which you know, that's what you should do. You should focus on that person, you
Right,
know,
right.
because there are rules,
Hmm.
but you know, the reality on the street is that you can't do that. So one of the things that happens, like if we're training multiple attacks, for example, somebody hits me from behind, the natural tendency is to want to turn around and hit that person, you know.
Hmm.
But as soon as I do that, the guy
Right,
in front of me hits me. So
right,
somebody
right.
hits me from behind, I'm going to hit the guy in front of me, then I'm going to hit the guy behind me. You know,
Okay.
it's just like you've got to like again, you know, kind of train your perception about how you're going to do things, change your outlook. So you know, like removing tension, situational awareness, and breathing, because a lot of
Hmm.
times I think that people hold their breath at times where they don't realize it, and you know, that's detrimental.
I'm going to take all of the clips of you talking about breathing and put them together into one video and send it to my students. um,
Well, I will tell you this is real simple. Here's the real
mhm.
simple thing about breathing: in through your
Mhm.
nose, out through your mouth. That simple. Don't
Right,
breathe in through your mouth. You know,
right.
because it's like if you hit me and I'm breathing in through my mouth, I actually
Hmm.
help the effectiveness of the strike. I help,
Hmm.
you know, my body tense up. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. I mean, it sounds simple, but it is simple. You know, the thing
Right.
I'd say about Systema and actually about any martial art is that, you know, you look at it and a lot of times it really is simple, but it's not easy,
Right. Right.
you know.
Um, next question that I ask everybody is anybody that is not martial artist that is thinking about starting, what advice would you give to them?
Well, I would say that, you know, as far as Systema goes, I'd say come to
Hmm.
class because,
That's right.
you know, we have, because a lot of what we do is, you know, pretty much slow training, you know, it's
Hmm.
designed to again, the slow training is to enable your body to repattern the nervous system, to learn how to move without excess tension or fear. Quite frankly, if there are things you can't do, there are things you can't do. It's like you have injuries, and that's the other thing about Systema. It's like there are martial arts where, if you're injured, you can't effectively do them. But in Systema, the idea is that, if your leg doesn't work, you still need to be able to move around. You need to be able to do things. If you have an injury, you still need to be able to move. Now, I'm not suggesting people work through pain necessarily, but if you're somebody who's new, I think Systema can be very good because it's the fact that we work slow and we will make adjustments for your skill level. It's like, for example, if we're doing strikes, you're an experienced student. If I'm striking you, I might hit you. I'll definitely hit you harder than I'll hit somebody new.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. The idea again is to help you remove your tension to, but that's not gonna be helpful if I chase you away because I hit you too hard. If that makes any sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Also, the last question that I ask everybody is if you could give all martial arts practitioners one technique, one thought, one philosophy in martial art, what would that be?
I would say, learn to be free. And what I mean by that is like free in yourself, like make sure you're breathing, make sure that you can move. I'd say be free, move, and breathe.
Perfect. Perfect. Morris, is there anything that you didn't get to say that you would like to say? Anything we didn't cover?
I'm trying to think if there's anything that I'm not sure there really is. But if anybody is interested, we will have a website up soon, but we are on Facebook under Louisville Systema. Generally speaking, we have classes on Saturdays at 9 a.m. and on Monday evenings at 6 p.m. People are welcome to stop by, but I would suggest, hitting me up on Facebook simply because like I mentioned, I'm going to be going to Toronto to train for like a week, and so I'm not going to be. There's not going to be class.
Right.
So I wouldn't want somebody to show up and nobody to be there. Normally those are the class times, and somebody will be there. But if it's always a good thing to check in with me, and I'll be happy to let people know, if for some reason there isn't going to be a class. And it doesn't matter, if it's, if it's a day where you show up and nobody else is there, that's great. We'll work one-on-one. I'll explain what Systema is. We'll do some stuff. And obviously if there's a class, whoever the person is, they can work in at their own skill level. There's never any problem with that.
That's wonderful. That's great. I want to thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with me.
Sure.
And I want to thank you because you took this time to have the conversation with me. You've enlightened me on a martial level. You're now part of my martial arts journey, whether you like it or not. And I thank you for that. I also want to thank everybody that watched this podcast. Go ahead.
So I'll expect to see you sometime at class.
Absolutely.
But again, check in with me, so make sure that we're going to have class. Because as you may know, Joan just had surgery, so she's not there. Sometimes she'll cover for me on Saturdays, but for a while she's going to be out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that, and I'll bring my shillelagh with me.
Okay. Oh, that's one other thing that I did want to mention about Systema. Let me just throw this out. Again, not to denigrate any martial art, but if you think about martial arts in general as being like
Mhm.
a drawer, like or a chest.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
like over here you've got weapons, here you've
Mhm.
got groundwork, here you've
Mhm.
got say kicks. Over here you've got like boxing or striking. You've
Mhm.
got these different little compartments. And usually to various degrees, like again, take Aikido. Aikido is mostly you know, without weapons, and you're basically standing up to do it. But
Mhm.
we do in Aikido use Boken wooden swords, Jo
Mhm.
staffs, and Tanto's wooden knives.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a little bit of a weapons element. And you could even say there's groundwork because there is some work on the knees, but it's not traditional
Mhm.
kind of groundwork. But so every martial art kind of has their main niche
Mhm.
and maybe a little bit of everything else. But for me, Systema encompasses more of the drawer, so to speak, than anything else because we've got groundwork, we've got striking, we
Mhm.
do things with the legs, we do all kinds of weapons, knives, sticks, chains, escapes from being hit with a chain.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
it may not come as a surprise to you based on what I said.
Mhm.
You don't try to escape from the chain by being tense. You
Right.
go with it.
Right.
So, there's a bigger palette, so to speak. The final little thing, I'll leave you with a joke. There's a, we'll just use Aikido. So Aikido practitioner, is talking to his friends and goes, man, somebody tried to jump me last night and, I had to deal with it. And the guy goes, did you use your Aikido? And he goes, no, I pulled out my gun. So same question to Systema practitioner. Somebody tried to jump me last night. Did you use Systema on them? Yes, I pulled out my gun because Systema incorporates gun work as well as weapons work, as well as empty hand work, as well as
Mhm.
moving on the ground work. So there's this wide emphasis,
Mhm.
but with all of those things, the basic principles are the same. You want to be have freedom of movement, and you want to be, remove tension and fear from yourself, and you
Mhm.
want to try to be invisible in what you do. So all those things are in there. And the other thing, we try to again, our goal is to obviously everybody tries to avoid injury, but we try to heal injury as much as
Mhm.
possible. We do things that are healing, with breathing, and in one respect you can think about strikes, as being maybe a kind of hard form of massage, but kind of a massage, because you're finding out where you're holding tension.
How
So,
very Aikido of you. Thank you
well,
for
it's
the
actually more
massage after being
Systema.
thrown.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank everybody for listening and keep kicking.
I am so incredibly grateful and in debt to all these people that sit down and have a conversation with me and help me along my martial journey. I can't say enough how much I appreciate it. It's wonderful. If you're watching this and you're a martial artist and would like to have a conversation with me, if you're watching this and you're friends with a martial artist that you think would be a good fit for this podcast, if you want to tell me how wrong I am, if you want to tell me that I'm an asshole or a prick, you can do all of those things at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And as always, keep kicking, guys.